Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Ochi. My name is American Ben, and today we venture back into the world of despair with a look into Angel Beats in order to divulge its darkest secrets. I don't quite know how we got here, but we've certainly weaved a way fraught with madness and utter mayhem, picking up tidbits about the nature of humankind and the whispered wails of suffered peoples everywhere as we've gone from Alice in Borderland to High-Rise Invasion. All of the shows in between are rife with grief-stricken peoples cast away to surreal realms presided over by callous gods. And our question is always the same: how and why? Well, I suppose also, what the hell just happened? And so here we arrive at Angel Beats, a show recommended to me by some astute commenters who recognized its relevance to other content we've covered, as well as by Congo himself, who told me that this is one that we have to cover. Angel Beats centers on a young man by the name of Otonashi, who awakens in some sort of afterlife dimension, lost of his memories or any clue as to how he got there. He, like all peoples in this dimension, enrolls at its high school, where he joins the Not Yet Dead Battlefront, or the SSS, a group dead set on defeating the Student Council President Angel, a soft-spoken but lethal woman endowed with supernatural powers she can code into her arsenal using the realm's Angel Player software, a program which powers and regulates the entire afterlife. Along the way, Otonashi, SSS founder and leader Yuri, and the rest of the group seek to uncover the mysteries of this strange and dark place they've unwillingly ended up in, a mission which requires each of them to confront their painful pasts as they deal with all sorts of deadly obstacles ahead of them. And listen, it's no use. You're not gonna get it unless you watch it. And if you don't, well, you may wake up one day as a water flea. Just a quick warning, by the way, this show's content is certainly heavy and contains a lot of difficult material to deal with, emotionally speaking. So once again, if you're easily influenced by this kind of stuff in a negative way, or just aren't having a great week, please tune out and come back when you're feeling a bit better. Now, just one more note before we begin our exploration of the show's secrets. I enjoyed Angel Beats, but I have to admit I thought it was a bit much at certain points. It really pushes the melodrama in a way that at times feels exploitative of the emotionally vulnerable viewer. It's all like sad, sad, death, death. It wasn't subtle at all. It was blatant with its themes, and it spoon-fed all of its meaning to the audience, like, who's the real monster? God never fails.
At this rate, we're gonna fall into its mouth.
Crazy road, man.
God never fails.
I really think it could have done more with less. It doesn't need all of the drawn-out explanations of its meaning. It could have just let the rest of the content speak for itself. That said, it is a meaningful, beautiful, and fun show. Now, the first thing that stands out upon entry into the afterlife realm is that you're not supposed to follow rules.
This is the afterlife. You'll get obliterated if you don't fight.
Obliterated? By who?
I guess by him. God, I mean.
Following rules and fitting in will get you obliterated, eliminated from the afterlife, and inductees into the SSS don't seem to question this idea much when first learning the rules. They just follow them because that's what everyone else does, and plus, Yuri is kind of scary.
Go to class and pretend like you're taking it seriously. No matter what, don't listen to the teachers. You'll be obliterated if you take the class too seriously.
And yes, this goes for the afterlife school as well. Succeed, and you may disappear. Next, it's clear early that the SSS members do not want to accept death.
It started as Underworld Battlefront, but Underworld Battlefront sounds like we've accepted that we're dead, you know? So we changed that name.
Accepting death, as we are made to assume, also gets you obliterated. And the next rule that all SSS members must learn is that Angel is the enemy.
That's Not Yet Dead Battlefront's enemy, Angel.
And it's not exactly clear why right away, but Yuri is gonna get pissed if you try and make nice with Deadly Angel Woman.
Listen, how about I go down there?
What? Why? Why the hell go down there? That doesn't make any sense. What the hell made you say that? Are you an idiot?
And finally, it's worth noting that clearly SSS members aren't fans of Big G, or G's for my polytheists out there.
You need a password to enter safe and sound.
What's the password?
There is no God, Buddha, or angel. Welcome aboard.
Despite taking place in an ethereal dimension, they are still having struggles with their beliefs concerning God. They do seem to believe in God for the most part, despite their passive-aggressive club password, but they have trouble holding on to that belief.
Now for my last question. It's about God. Does he exist?
I believe in him. Not that I've seen him anywhere.
So we have these basic principles of the realm that were revealed to us almost immediately in episode 1. SSS members don't follow the rules, don't try to succeed in school, don't accept death, see Angel as their archenemy, and have conflicting thoughts about God. But as I said just before, it's not clear why, and we need to find out why the SSS holds these principles so dear. Well, as it turns out, finding out why these principles are important is essential to understanding the world of Angel Beats. Of course, as the show unfolds, we quickly start to gather answers to our questions.
The ones who fail to obey the school rules get a verbal warning first. She'll chase you if you run and cut off your escape routes, and you don't even want to know what happens then.
As the student council president, Angel enforces the school rules, and those who break the rules get harsh punishments. Funny enough, though, we never really see Angel doling out a harsh punishment. We only see her reminding others of the rules. Okay, she does stab Otanashi in the chest, but I mean, he kind of asked her to do that. She just took things a little far. Kind of like if you say, Ben, you can survive a 50-foot fall, and I say, prove it, and then you push me off of a ledge. Bit much. But I digress. I think Angel pretty much acts only in self-defense, and the SSS knows this. Yuri makes that clear to us right away.
Does she attack?
An eye for an eye, but only when we pick the fight.
So she kills people like she did me.
You bet. Finally, try not to act like a model student. People have gotten obliterated doing that.
So this makes me assume that the reason, well, the superficial reason SSS members hate Angel is simply because she's a proponent of the rules, and less so because she causes them physical pain. It's pretty clear to see from episode 1 onwards that there's a strong possibility that SSS members are acting wrongly towards Angel. They seem rather tormented. They've all come to the afterlife from painful pasts of varying degrees and hold the memory of those pasts with them unto the beyond.
Naturally, they were after money, but they couldn't find any. They got angry and started breaking the windows and TV. They shattered everything they could lay their hands on.
Yuri experienced a violent home invasion when she was a child, which resulted in the murder of her 3 siblings. Leader of the afterlife band Girls Dead Monster, Masami Iwasawa, experienced a tumultuous childhood as well at the hands of abusive parents. It was as a result of her pain that she found music and escaped into it. However, an old head injury caused by her alcoholic father led her to have a stroke which ended her life shortly after it took music away from her. Then, Hideki Hinata was abandoned by his teammates after failing to catch an easy fly ball in a baseball game, an error which led him to take drugs and deteriorate. Student Council Vice President Ayato Naoi grew up in the shadow of his talented brother, who was fawned over by his father as they both connected through their mastery of pottery. When his brother died in an accident, Naoi's father tried to make Naoi fill his brother's role, which made him feel as if he was the one who died.
It was a meaningless life. You're the one who died. That's what the sky told me. Right. My brother was the one who survived.
However, eventually his father became bedridden as well, and he was stuck taking care of him. Then Yui, another member of Dead Girls Monster, was hit by a car when she was little and ended up completely paralyzed and unable to live out her dreams.
All I could do was watch TV. When I watched music programs and rock bands, I thought how cool it would be if I could do that.
Then there's Otanashi himself, who is living a meaningless life, half depressed and just going through the motions day to day.
I don't know what it means to be alive or have a meaningful life. I'm not interested in others. It's easier to go through life without interacting with people.
However, his sister was sick, and so he would work multiple jobs in order to buy her presents and take care of her. His sister was what kept him going.
Where'd you like to go on Christmas if you could go anywhere?
Downtown Main Street.
You want to go there?
You see, they light up all the trees, didn't you know?
Eventually, his sister died, but instead of losing his will to live, he actually began to find new meaning in helping others. But he died in a train accident just when things were looking up. Real happy and uplifting show Angel Beats is. So all of these people who have experienced pain have been aggregated in this weird afterlife, and they are self-aware of their continuing despair. Life has been quite unkind to them.
I was confident I was a cool big sister up until that day. But I lost everything I wanted to protect in 30 minutes. That's too unfair. How could I ever forgive God for that?
Dealing with the unfairness of life is one of life's greatest difficulties. The universe at times, or at all times, seems indifferent to your suffering. How do you cope with the possibility that there's no great force ensuring fairness in your world?
This world system is so messed up. I can't believe this is happening to me. What's up with this place?
This unfairness, which carries into the afterlife, is what makes the show's characters despair, which basically means to lose hope. When you lose hope or your faith in the future because the forces of nature don't seem to be working your way, it causes unbearable torment. because you sense an abject loss of control over your brutal surroundings, they which strike you down so persistently.
The people here, all of them, are trying to defy God. They were given such unfair lives. So they're fighting back.
And so now we get our first peek into a deeper truth. The reason that the characters in the Afterlife realm are fighting back against its rules, fighting Angel, is that they are angry at God. They want to defy God for hurting them, so they're not going to do what the forces of the Afterlife want them to do. I think even our atheist viewers can understand this dynamic. I might rephrase it as lashing out at the world to prove your anger to some unseen force. It's a silly thing we do, but we do it in a desperate attempt to gain the unseen force's attention. This salvo is the last burst of hope we have sometimes.
I was apathetic and lived out of habit. You gave me a reason to live. I died before accomplishing anything. It's not fair. I can't pass on like this.
The world just keeps spinning with its natural laws intact, regardless of pain and suffering. Death or even misfortune comes for the good and the bad, the monsters and the men. And at times, it comes at unfair times, at points in which it totally wasn't supposed to come. But the laws of physics are what they are, and when trains crash, bad things happen to its passengers. However, negative events don't affect all people equally. It almost seems like there's two types of people in the world, those who bear heavy burdens inside of them and those who don't. The more accurate statement may be that even the people who don't seem to let things bother them still do suffer at times. So perhaps we should say that despair is a matter of extent. But still, there seems to be a certain type of person that finds their way to this afterlife realm.
My sister's different from me. She has hope in life. I'm sure she'll find a reason to live. I wish I could trade places with her, since I don't have any hope or purpose in life.
Otonashi's sister's physical suffering seems to affect him more than her. It seems to cause him more anguish than it does her. He is the type of person who focuses on the unfairness of the world very deeply, and it eats away at him. And of course, someone like his sister might have said to him, just don't worry about everything so much. But of course, someone who has a mind like Otonashi does, and I know many of you watching this video probably do, can't control their thoughts so easily. You dwell and dwell and dwell, and your relentless tortured thoughts eat you alive.
Working in the winter is a challenge. My fingers feel like they'll break from the cold, but I keep at it in order to survive. To survive? Why bother?
It's almost as if this show is actually about mental illness to an extent. Otonashi is a caring person, but he suffers inside, and sufferers end up in the afterlife because they can't get over their painful memories. Perhaps a more difficult question we can ask here is, are people like Otonashi mentally ill or mentally aware? Perhaps too aware?
I got a second part-time job. Home was just a place to sleep. I felt like I could work since I had a goal.
People like Otonashi need to find a reason to keep going despite their mental maladies. They can't just enjoy the small experiences in life because pain is with them in every moment. So they trudge through life hanging on from one goal to the next, just hanging on. But as I alluded to before, in the afterlife realm, the characters feel as if they have a bit more control over their lives.
Death didn't care. It went after people indiscriminately and randomly. It's not like we were actually able to defy it. But this world is a whole other ballgame. We can fight back.
To them, Angel represents God because they view her as working with and empowered by God as the student council president. And since God is personified through Angel in this case, they actually have a target to fight back against.
I just can't forgive God. That's why.
Thus, Angel becomes the medium through which they can retain control over their world and not let God be cruel to them, something that nobody can do on Earth. As a matter of fact, the characters can be God.
Everyone had terrible lives, but why? Because that gives us the right to become God. Our suffering in life has given us the right to become God.
And of course, those who believe themselves to be gods often go on to be just as cruel as the God they so despise. Their pain becomes their motivation to become God. And in the position of God, that same pain then drives them to make others suffer.
What'll you do once you're God?
Bring about peace.
For us? What do you mean? You're putting everyone through hell!
Only because they resisted.
People who are hurt often exact suffering on others. This is a very common maladaptive human behavior. We see this when one of the men stuck in the tunnel after Otonashi's train crash tries to steal some water. The hurt in a person can instill in that person a need to bring others down too, especially people who threaten them or who possess a quality or trait they are envious of and is lacking in them. And someone who's in pain doesn't need to intend to hurt others in order to do so. Someone who exudes darkness and depression can simply extend their energy to those around them.
You're about to have a great dream. Even in this world, you can enjoy wonderful dreams.
Here, Naoi plays on Yuri's memories to hurt her. He knows how to use her pain because he's felt pain, and so he forces her to have horrible, guilt-ridden thoughts about her dead siblings. Even though we blame God, sometimes it's not actually God who hurts us, it's other hurting people who do it. Humans have the ability to be quite cruel themselves. They can make other humans feel like they're even inferior to a clothespin.
Despair in your uselessness and inferiority to the clothespins.
We can now better understand why the characters bully Angel. I mean, aside from the fact that she has an odd personality, which by the way is a typical reason that insecure, inner tormented bullies will abuse someone, and Angel Beats' characters really come off as typical bullies at certain points in the show.
Have we ever let things go smoothly for poor little Angel? Serves her right.
They give her absolute hell in school. They subvert her tests and get her removed as student council president. The show does seem to want to talk directly to teenagers and high schoolers at times, not to chastise, but more to convey that bullies are born out of the brutality of the world they're raised within. They're not always absolutely evil people. Sometimes they're just confused or too blinded by their anger and insecurities to recognize the hurt that they're causing. Angel is dehumanized by the SSS members. None of them even care to learn her real name until Otonashi comes along.
Oh, no, it's too stupid for her not to know her own name. Actually, I'm surprised none of you know it.
We never had a chance to learn it.
There's a shocker.
Then you go look it up.
And throughout the show, Yuri and the others question here and there what it would mean if Angel is actually human. What would that imply about their actions, about their cruelty towards her? Even worse, what would it imply about their world if it's not some god that's trying to get them to follow the rules of the realm?
For her to do things the same way we do, it could mean the worst possible scenario for us. It would mean there is no God.
And yet they continue to pick on Angel because they're just so angry at God. They need a scapegoat. They need someone to answer for the unfair things that have happened to them. They would prefer there to be a God because that would mean that there's a deeper reason for their suffering. And as we said before, the existence of God gives them an enemy to target. But I digress. Even beyond the fact that Angel represents the cruelty of God to SSS members, she also forces them to confront their pain, to take on the memories that ail them. She wants to free them from their pain and let them move on from the afterlife realm to a new life.
Everyone who came here was unable to fully enjoy their youth. That is the reason.
So this was a place to save young souls.
The whole time, Yuri and the SSS members tried desperately to avoid compliance with the rules and thus obliteration. But compliance would have led them to confront their demons and move on from their pain. Iwasawa eventually realizes this.
I want to save someone, just as I was saved. I finally found it.
She accepts her fate, finds peace, and thus is able to move on. But alas, humans are self-destructive, and so the show's main characters do everything they can to sabotage each other and keep themselves in pain.
If Hinata had caught that second pop fly, he would have been at peace. We were such nuisances. Yui and I both.
Otonashi, of course, realizes this eventually and begins to attempt to basically do what Angel had been doing. He helps his friends make amends with their unhappy memories and fill the void in their souls.
Okay, Kanade. Let's help them graduate from here. Everyone. Together.
The Yui and Otonashi arc in episode 10 was kind of a beautiful montage. Yui, this poor woman, was such a sweet person, and given an unfathomably difficult outcome to deal with both mentally and physically. Her brain intact where her body failed, she was left to stew over everything she wouldn't be able to do in life, and that's it. Her one life suffered through paralyzed.
God is so cruel. He stole all my happiness away. He's such a mean God. He's such a big meanie.
But ever sweet, she's so easy to please actually. She wants a lot of things, but such simple things that God wouldn't let her have. And even a bubbly person like her despairs and dwells. Eventually, though, one by one, all of the characters in the show find healing.
I'm starting to want to follow after everyone.
Thank you. You've done enough. You don't have to suffer alone anymore.
And they prepare themselves for obliteration, or rather to pass on in peace. Something they held themselves back from because of their inability to overcome their pain, anger, and other emotions attached to life.
No one's here because they want to be. They're just struggling against their unfair lives.
And the result? They fight every day. They enter into a cycle of never-ending self-inflicted violence.
You each fought to defend your own beliefs. It led to us creating weapons. Now every day is filled with fighting.
What makes Otonashi special is that by the time he reaches the afterlife realm, he's not actually exclusively the type of person who lets his mind get the best of him. Remember, when he died, he was on the mend. He was ever so slowly finding meaning and happiness in life. Thus, he doesn't belong in the afterlife realm.
Come to think of it, I was never supposed to have to come here. It just wasn't my destiny. I lived a fulfilled life there at the end. I lost those memories, so I wandered into this world.
That's why he can save everyone else there. He is in a unique position to be able to empathize with the other people there and also teach them how to move on. And it's kind of one of the more selfless things a human can do, to drop themselves down into the depths of despair with the suffering in order to help lead them out. And he's also really the only person who can help Angel pass on.
Let me believe that life is worth living. Thank you for giving my life to me.
Angel was the one prior to him who helped people come to terms with their lives and leave the afterlife. But even she needs someone to help her. Otonashi was her angel, first giving her his heart and then rescuing her from the afterlife realm. Otonashi was skeptical of the hate directed at Angel from the start. He demonstrated empathy for her.
She just wanted to eat this? I bet this is her favorite meal. I went and stole such a small piece of happiness from her.
The fact that he has maintained his empathy through all of his experiences makes him a bit different from the other SSS members who torment Angel without hesitation out of their own bitterness towards God and the world around them. As we mentioned already though, the characters, thanks to Otonashi, eventually come around. And I think that what they realize is that their ideas about happiness and life are ill-conceived.
That wasn't half bad, Ayato.
That's what I wanted to hear the most. I wanted him to acknowledge me.
Naoi, for instance, realizes that there were small moments in which his father acknowledged him in life. Yes, his father wasn't the best dad. Yes, he did ignore Naoi for much of his life. But there was this small moment of happiness. And that's all happiness is really, a brief moment, just like all other things. Nothing is permanent or perfect.
My reason to live had been right next to me. I just never noticed. I was happy. I can't believe I just realized that. How selfish I was.
Otonashi's sister was dying and he kind of hated life, and so he figured, my life is horrible. I'll never attain happiness. But he had happiness. Yeah, some people are fortunate enough to not have their little sister become terminally ill, but everyone dies at some point. Everyone, the rich and the poor, the lucky and the unlucky, need to make the most of their time in life one way or another. We have to accept whatever experiences we're given and learn from them and try to gather whatever meaning we can from them. This is what Otonashi and the other victims of the train crash were doing when they, on the brink of death, started checking the organ donation boxes on their ID cards. They had adjusted their standards for the amount of meaning they could derive from life. In this case, the most meaning they could attain was by sharing their organs with people who needed them. The characters in the show realize that it's futile to dwell on the impermanence of things or the imperfection of things. One cannot try to control away pain.
Look, you're gonna need to become a lot more flexible. Accept things as they are.
Accept things?
That's a losing battle. Pain is an inevitable part of life, and what's more, without pain, there's no happiness. Otonashi's sister's suffering helped him to truly appreciate and enjoy her company, her smiles, and her love.
Thank you, bro.
She would always say that. I wonder what made her so happy.
How would you know happiness without knowing sadness? This is Otonashi in a nutshell. His life on Earth was filled with sadness, and so he was able to achieve great moments of happiness as well. He knew sadness, so happiness felt extra sweet. Emotions are kind of relative in this way. If only good things ever happened to you, then your feelings would have no room to move. If you have tons of cookies in your house, then eventually those cookies won't make you happy anymore. You'll need something else. But if you never have cookies in your house, then the addition of cookies may indeed bring you happiness. Cue people being like, cookies will always make me happy forever and ever. But the point is that happiness is a positive feeling derived from a negative space. Why does love begin to bloom in the afterlife realm? After all, the arbiters of the afterlife intend for it to be void of love.
Love started to bloom in this world. Love that should never be allowed to exist within this world.
I see.
Well, the afterlife realm is full of people with painful memories. Thus, it must also be full of people capable of creating pleasurable ones. The inhabitants know sadness, they know hate, so inevitably they will create happiness and love there too. And thus the realm masters have to unleash dark shadows on the afterlife in order to prevent it from losing its purpose. Perhaps the shadows represent the darkness that tries to swallow people up once they attempt to lift themselves out of despair. It's hard to heal. Just when we get ourselves going, our minds tend to pull us back down.
If he's an NPC, doesn't that make him soulless? Then where did his soul go?
It probably got devoured.
Isn't that worse than dying? Is he trapped here forever?
Depression, sadness, grievance all gather to swallow our souls and keep us suffering forever. They bane us to the point of numbness, to the point in which we seem to others as emotionless, soulless NPCs. But if we can pull ourselves away from the shadows and press on, seeing the world for what it is, accepting it and taking the good and the bad as lessons to be had, we really have a chance of being saved in one realm or another. Anyways, that is the video. That's my breakdown of the hidden messages in Angel Beats. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Definitely comment down below. Can't wait to see what you have to say. Remember to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a damn thing. For now, my name is American Ben, Generation Ochi. Peace.